time, say, all things are possible. Sometimes you gotta remind yourself, hey, everybody shout with me. Yes, Lord, I believe. Shout it out if you agree. Yes, Lord, I agree. Everybody shout with me. Yes, Lord, I agree. Let's go. All things are possible. All things. Last time, everybody say it. All things are possible. All
We were having some technical difficulties, but I think we got it going together now. How many are ready to worship? Amen. We're going to sing a couple songs and then the Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Shall I be afraid? I will wait on you. I will wait on you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord will wait on you. I will wait. I will wait on you. I will trust in you. I trust in you. Come on, say the Lord. Shall I be afraid? The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? I will wait on you. I will wait on you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will remain confident. I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Say, I will remain. Come on, say, I will remain. Yes, I will, God. Come on, sing that real quick. Say, I will remain. I will remain confident in. I will see the Lord. I will remain. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. We set our hope. We set our hope on you. We set our hope. We set our hope on you. We set our hope on you. We set our hope. Who is the everlasting God? You are the everlasting God. We set our hope. We set our hope on you. We set our hope on your love. We set our hope on the one, the everlasting God. Say you are God. We set our hope. We set our hope on you. We set our hope on your love. We set our hope on the one God. your goodness, oh God. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, say, I'm gonna see it. I remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Hallelujah. How many believe that we're going to see his goodness? It's a simple song that we haven't sung in a long time. Liz doesn't even know I'm singing. I'm going to try it. It goes. All of my days, I will lift up a praise. In spirit and truth, forever I another song. We're gonna surprise you. I can sing of your love forever. 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 Oh, I feel like dancing. It's foolishness, I know. But when the world has seen the light, it will dance with joy like we did now. Yeah. I can sing of your love forever. I can sing of your love forever. Your love forever. I can sing of your love forever. I can sing of
Hello, can you hear me? Hello. I don't have any sound at all, so I don't know if we can work on getting the sound working a little on our end, but we have no sound whatsoever. Is Mario and Nia there? Can we get Mario and Nia, Liz and Mo?
Go, Mario.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
there's Mario and Nia. Can you hear us?
I can hear
I
you.
hear you just I hear you just a little bit. Is there any way we can get the volume turned up?
See, we only can hear Mo and Liz a little bit.
Tell him to just try to turn his up on
Try,
his
try,
iPad.
try to turn it up on your
Or
iPad
whatever he's using.
or whatever you have.
I did. My volume is all the way up, but I can't. I don't. If Michael could on his end, it's got to be something the system because my volume is all the way up.
Oh, I'm asking if there's something. Okay, let me see that. I know, but it better come. Maybe get everybody to hang up.
They can hear us. Gina said they can hear us.
Okay.
So everybody, can you hear us on the network? I got one person said Gina said they can. You guys can hear us. Yes, we can hear you. Richard said they can
what
hear
they
us.
say?
We can hear. Who's that? Mo?
That's
Who's
me.
just talk?
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so we hear Mo good. We hear Mario.
okay. So let's do this so they can.
It's
Hey,
still
Mario.
volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, got you.
There we are.
Okay. So I'm gonna turn it over to
Let me
Mario.
open up.
Okay. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Just real quick, everybody, that you can hear us on now, let's hit your share button, your like button, give us some hearts if you enjoy what we're saying, and put in your comments, and then that way we can also read some of the comments and we can get some feedback back and forth. Before we go any further, turn it over to Demario. We're doing an outreach to our children at our church. So if you are a member of Bethesda, please make sure, if you don't think we have your phone number, please call the church tomorrow. We're going out this week doing some outreach for our children. Leave your number at the church. The number of the church is area code 716-884-3607. So make sure you contact us at the church tomorrow so make sure we reach out to your children.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Mario, and we're talking about marriage. But last week Mario said we need to be. He said, Bishop, you're not. You got to get more real. So I said, well, Mario, my real is the baby boomers. We need that millennial real. So Mario is going to give us some questions, and we're going to talk tonight. We're going to talk about that subject that many times in church is not talked about. Is we're talking to married folks, but it's sex. So Mario, let's have that real conversation.
And I understand why you passed it over to me, because even when you said the word sex, you actually had a little shaking in your voice. It hurt for you to even say it. So I was saying we're talking about sex. All right. So in this, I had to, I had my own questions. I had to run them by the wife. She told me absolutely not on some of them. So, and I understand that. So, I had to cater what I say. So the first question that I have, Bo Liz, can you hear me?
There they go. I see them now.
But they're not.
Well, good. It'll be there in a second.
Yes.
Disappeared. They might have to
Just
reboot there.
camera.
Hey Mario.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do in answering questions, we want to keep it to about a minute, minute and a half, so we can get everybody's opinion in. So if everybody would just take about a minute, minute and a half, kind of keep our answers brief, we don't, and so that we can get everybody in.
Okay, so I'll start now with just us, and then I'll run it back. Hopefully Mo and Liz are on by the time we finish answering this question. All right? Mom, look in the camera. I see you blushing. You too light not to. Okay, first question. How important is sex in marriage?
How important is sex in marriage? And you guys, you want us to start off?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. So I'm gonna prefer to the lady, and then I'll answer.
I think it's very important in a marriage. It's a gift that God gave marriage. I think it's very important. It's a covenant between a husband and wife that something special just between a husband and wife that no one else is involved in. So it's very important. I think that's something special between a husband and wife. But I'd be remiss if I say it's the only thing of marriage, because God forbid something wasn't happening to the husband or the wife. They got sick. You don't want to base your marriage around sex, because if one of them cannot perform, or one of them cannot perform at that time, or for a long sickness, you don't want your marriage to end because of sex. So it's got to be, before sex, it's got to be love and commitment.
I think, and I agree that sex is important within the marriage. I think it varies though, with the person. What I mean by that, I think many times for men it's a lot more important sometimes than it is for women. And sometimes those roles change. But obviously, as you listen to different marriage counselors, especially Christian marriage counselor, I know there was one that said, you need to have sex at least 3 times a week. It is the joining together of not just physical, but I think it has spiritual and emotional connotations to it also. So I believe that sex is important. maybe more so to the man than to the woman, but it's absolutely important in the marriage. And I also agree with Joyce. It can't be all that there is in that marriage, though.
And also, far as sex, I think it's all when someone gets married. That's why I said marital counseling is the best thing you could ever do for yourself is marital counseling,
Hold on, wait,
and
don't
that's
get ahead
got
of
to be a
yourself.
no,
Don't get ahead of yourself.
no. It's
We'll
still
get
on the
that.
same point. No.
I
It's the
know.
same point. Okay,
We
go
want
ahead. Go
we
ahead.
want
Go
to keep our
ahead.
answers to a minute. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Mari.
Okay. So for me, I think sex is important. Is that okay? I think sex is very important. To your end, a lot of times, as when I was younger, I used to think that it was more important to a man than it is to women. But like you said, I think sometimes those roles change. I know a lot of times they say when a woman turns 50, right, their drive will kick up, and a lot of men, that's when their drive slows down. So I think sex is important to both parties. I think it's a way of enjoyment. And when you talked about the Bible, what made you married is, when you came together and you had sex. So sex, represents marriage. It's all part of it. But I think it's very important.
Nia?
I do. I think it is. I think everybody really said what I would have said. It's a very important part of marriage. It's not the only thing, but it's important.
Yeah.
So Mari, can I ask this? When we talk about sex, um, you know, and I see Mose just came in. So the Bible, and I don't know, this is probably one of your questions. Maybe I'm getting ahead, but the Bible talks about marriage, the bed being undefiled. So
No, don't go there. We'll talk about that in a minute. You just stay there till I
okay,
finish
all
this.
right. So I'll let you lead Mo and Liz.
Liz, can y'all hear us?
A little bit.
All right. Is your dial up working? Well, we can hear you fine. All right. So the first question is, in like a minute to a minute and a half, how important is sex in marriage?
I feel like it's very important. If it wasn't important, God wouldn't have spent so much time on it in the Bible. I think it's important, but not everything, of course. But it is very important to the a thriving relationship to have a good sexual relationship. I believe. Like and like I heard mom when she said everybody, you know, has different situations where you have to have more than that. But I think it's definitely important.
I agree. It's
Liz?
definitely important. It's not everything in a marriage, but it's definitely high on a totem pole of what needs to happen in a marriage. And it's important for you to just come together and be intimate to refresh your marriage. I think it really is a part of that, just connecting in an more intimate level.
I agree. For me, I put sex in the top three. The number one thing though is to have righteous seed. Ain't that right, Bishop? To have godly children, Bishop. That's the number one thing.
Well, I mean, when we talk about why God created sex, and I think the thing that we have to say is that God is the creator of sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard one preacher say, and I tend to agree with this: if he didn't make it pleasurable, right, we wouldn't do it and we wouldn't procreate.
They don't
So
call it.
when God created sex, He created it in such a way that it would be pleasurable, because in it causes us to procreate. I don't think that's not the only reason for sex, but in God's purpose, when He joins them together, it is to procreate so that they could fill the earth and take dominion. But also, I believe God also wants us to be able to enjoy it.
Okay.
After childbearing
Next.
age,
Okay, so we have Paulette Woods. She
A
said
comment.
a comment. She said it's a stress reliever. It is physical expression of love, affection, tenderness, and keeps you healthy. I do believe that. I saw on the. I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw it on Instagram and it said COVID. A healthy sex life keeps COVID-19 away. I don't know if it's true, but it looked real. So I just want to throw that out there. Next question: is marriage
hey
counseling
Mario,
important for? Huh?
I think there's going to be a lot of babies coming out of this COVID
Oh,
19.
Covania, uh, Covania. It's gonna be a lot of
Oh,
weird
Nia.
names me and Liz got to say during school in the next coming
Kobe,
years.
Not Kobe. Kobe.
Coco. Next one. Is marriage counseling important for a healthy sex life? I'll let Mo and Liz start this one.
Is it important for a healthy sex life?
Yes.
Like marriage counseling while you're married?
No, before. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for that. Before you get married, is marriage counseling before you get married important for a healthy sex life?
I mean, I think with every relationship, there's different dynamics and different things that you need more tutelage on, far as your the marriage counseling that you go through. But at the end all be all, I think all aspects of your marriage are important to talk about and get on the table, which is basically all you're doing. And marriage counseling is putting everything on the table before, so there's no secrets. I think all aspects, but yeah, that falls into that as well. Sex is important to talk about before you get married.
Liz?
I agree. I definitely feel like you should talk about it, and it should not be any type of secrets. And a lot of times people have different expectations, so you should definitely know what you're getting yourself into. So there's no surprises when it's time to be intimate and to be in, be in those moments. Um, because if you have different expectations, that could be the downfall of a lot of marriages. So it's important to talk about it.
Bishop?
Yeah, well, I'll let Joyce go first.
Okay. Fire is marital counseling, 100%. 100%. Because a lot of times you find how people was taught sex, it goes into their marriage. So if they was taught sex by their friends on the corner, by pornography, say if a guy learned how, got in sexual relationship at a young age and pornography and, just living a wild life and got saved and married a girl that was not sexually active. Those are two totally different sexual mindsets of sex. So that's 100% important in marital counseling because they have to learn how to balance each other out because he can't get married or let's say, I mean, sometimes a guy may be the version of a girl, they can't get married. They're expecting the person to be like their former sexual partner. So it's very, very important that all that, even if you've been involved in homosexuality, lesbianism, and your any kind of pornography, anything that you would take over into your marriage, it needs to be on the table like this. Everything be on the table and be healed from all of that stuff. So when you go into the marriage, you go whole and you can be able to be a blessing to your mate.
Yeah,
You know what,
I'll
Mom?
just piggyback.
Go ahead, Dad.
I'll
Go
just
ahead.
piggyback and say this. Go ahead, Mario.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll just piggyback and say this. It definitely, I think, marital counseling or talking about sex and marital counseling is important. And I think one of the issues many times that we don't talk about is because most people now that get married, very few of them are both going to be virgins. So a lot of times they're coming into the marriage not only with expectations, but they're coming in with the ties, the soul ties of individuals that they've been with. And so if that's not dealt with, then you've got those individuals coming into the bedroom with you. And it will cause major issues. And it has caused major issues within marriages. And you find eventually somebody tipping around with somebody they used to be with because, here again, those expectations and not dealing with those soul ties.
I agree. You know, Pastor Joyce, I like you. See, I like you. You a lot more candid. Maybe one day me and you just need to have this own conversation. Just cut everybody out. Okay? These prudes around us. Go ahead.
So what I was gonna say was, I think that one thing that would be addressed in marriage counseling is if somebody has suffered some type of trauma. So if there was abuse, in the way they were introduced to sex, or if they already had some type of hangups. A lot of times people have to work through those things. It's much more emotional than the sex act is going to become it takes on a whole different level and a different connotation and a different place in your life if you've been introduced to sexual experiences through trauma. And so I think that proper counseling can help you work through some of those issues, help you work through what your expectations are, help you work through fear, maybe some things that you've been actually held in bondage about. So I think it's really, really important to not only before marriage, but if you know those things are still coming up, to be honest with your partner and, continue in it. Counseling, that is.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's very important. Like you say, you gotta get everything on the table. And the thing is, don't think that once you have marriage counseling, you won't need a refresher, right? Because we all know that as you are married, more stuff comes up, right? Because as you get older, certain things are more important than they were before, and issues can arise. So I think everybody needs a tune up. And just a little plug, Andre and Lisa, Dad, what is their ministry that they have that's coming up? What is that called?
Wounded to Win.
Keep an eye out for that. Minister Andre and Sister Lisa, Wounded to Win. It is something that will really help people who might be, what's the word you said, that when they were younger? They
suffered trauma.
Trauma. If they suffer trauma coming up, this is a ministry that will help you. So just stay tuned for that. Next question. Where do you go, or where should you go if you're having problems with your sex life if you're a Christian? I'll start with you, Bishop.
I can't hear
where
you.
Should you go?
I'm sorry.
Okay, Liz, can you hear me now?
No, Mo's trying to fix it, so just try to get back to us.
Okay, go ahead, Dad.
Go to your dad.
All right. So I think, first I would say naturally you could go to your pastor, hopefully, and first lady. But I think also any couples within the couples that you know of that have a healthy marriage. Because if you have a healthy marriage, I would say 95% of the time you got a healthy sex life. And so if you know of couples that have a healthy marriage, you respect them spiritually. I think that, those type of individuals, leaders, whether your church has that type of leadership set up where you can go to a leader or to your pastor, I think those are definitely areas you can go. You a Christian sex therapist. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Type of leadership setup where you can go to a leader or to your pastor. I think those are definitely areas you can.
Mo, turn down your volume.
A Christian sex therapist.
So I just have a question for Bishop and Pastor Joyce. If they're members in the congregation and they're watching, they're saying, actually, I have been struggling in this area. Would you say you would want them to come first to you, or would you automatically kind of refer them to a Christian sex therapist or one of the other leaders in a church like that's over marriage ministry? What do you do in that situation?
We're definitely open if anybody come to us with any situation. So we're definitely, if you're a member of Bethesda and you're having issues, that or anything, please come to us. Please, we don't want nobody in our family suffering, and we can do what we can to help you. But then also within our ministry, we have a lot of couples that's seasoned, that's mature, that will give good godly counsel. And I always say, don't get any counsel from anyone if they don't love y'all the same. So, but we have great, at church that we will refer, that we trust enough to give good godly counsel that will help the families as well.
I think you guys said it all. I don't even have anything to piggyback. I think you definitely said a mouthful. And if I guess if your church doesn't have it, seek out a church that you know that you could.
Well, then that's a question too. What if it's somebody who's not a member? Do you suggest even dealing with, those type of situations from people that you may not know them as well? They're kind of like, I heard this on Facebook, or I know you counsel somebody else. Do you encourage that?
Without a doubt. Now, if they're a member of another church, we always definitely want them to get permission. Not, just let their pastor know they're coming to our church, not as a membership, not to start joining our church, just for some counseling. But if they're a non-member, without a doubt, we're here to help in any area that we can help anybody. Sure, without a doubt.
Well, we've actually had couples that were referred to us by their pastor to come, and we've had
pastors.
And we've had some of our ministerial staff minister to them. So yeah. We would do that.
And specifically about like sexual related issues.
Marriage as a whole, and I'm sure within
Okay.
that,
Okay.
there
Okay.
were those issues. If you having problems in your marriage, chances are you having problems in your sex life too. Whether it's financial, whether it's communication, all of that affects that relationship. Because
And
if
I
the
want to
money's
say for
funny,
people.
so if the money's funny, pretty much the honey is too.
That's a
So
good
I
point.
want to say for those who are on Facebook, please ask questions. If you have questions that you want to ask, please, we're looking at them. We're definitely conveying. Mo and Liz, are you? Well, I don't think they're back yet.
Yeah, for some reason,
Next
you guys
They're
He's
question.
are coming
back.
back.
in really low.
There they go.
Mo, y'all back?
For some reason, you guys are coming in really low. So I had to go.
We can't hear
We
him.
can't hear you, Mo.
We can't hear Mo.
Okay,
Turn up your volume, Mo.
it's not good.
Okay.
All right. When we hear Mo, let us know when you come back. Next, what does it mean when the Bible says the bed is undefiled? I've been letting everybody else go. We'll start first this time. You want me to start first? Okay. So to me, what it means, the bed is undefiled. That means most acts that you do with your wife, God is okay with. I think most of the acts that you do are okay. I did hear one minister or whatever. I won't say any names. They said something like, "Well, somebody asked him a question. What if you add another person?" He said, "Well, the bed is undefiled. So you're married. The bed is undefiled." I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you can add another person to your bed and still be undefiled, because the Bible talks about um, cheating. It talks about fornication. I forgot, adultery, and when you have sex with somebody other than your wife, that's considered adultery. So I don't agree with that. So I think the bed undefiled is good up until a point.
Mo,
Can you hear me?
Mo? Try your sound now,
Um,
Mo. Well, he's gone.
no, I do still see
Okay.
somebody else.
Okay. So Mario,
Yes.
as it pertains to that, I think that the Bible gives a couple of things that are not permissible within our sex life in marriage. I think the Bible is specific about those things. I think one of those is having relationship while the your spouse is on their period. The Bible speaks against that. The Bible also speaks against sodomy. So I think those two things, biblically, I think God addresses as it pertains to sex. So I think other than that, now you might want to swing from the chandeliers. That's fine. But my question to you is this: why do you want to swing from the chandeliers? Is it something that you saw that prompted that, or is that just something that you creatively thought up together that y'all want to do? Exploring to the but if it was out of something that you saw, then I think that that's an issue.
And I do agree with that. I think we'll touch into it more, but a lot of sometimes people come into marriage and you come in with expectations that you only have those expectations because, like you said, you might have trauma. So whatever trauma you had earlier can give you unreal expectations. um, or we'll touch it earlier. Some other stuff you could have saw, or could have happened, that if you go in there and you tell this person I want to do X, Y, and Z, and they're not comfortable with it, and they're telling you something wrong with that, that's something that you two need to address, because all your sexual proclivities aren't always coming from the best place. I'll give you that. Mo and Liz?
They're not on it.
Oh, I just saw them. That's what I was.
It's interesting because I always thought the way I heard it preached that undefiled just kind of, they were referring to, you know, basically the things that you can do, I guess, in sex act. But I just looked up undefiled, the meaning, and it means not defiled or pure, not made corrupt, impure, or unclean, untainted, uncorrupted. And so I never thought about it from that point of view. Like, it's up to you to make sure that you're keeping it pure. I don't think as much as, I mean, of course it could be about sex acts, but keeping a relationship pure before God, the sexual relationship, that doesn't include acts. That includes getting those things that may not be right, those things that may be hidden in your heart, those things that you may be struggling with, right, so that it doesn't come into the bed. I just saw it differently.
All right. I think all those.
Back, Mo.
What, Pastor
Yeah,
Joyce, did you
we're
have something
back.
you wanted to say?
Okay,
Are
go
you
ahead,
back,
Mo.
Mo?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, I don't. Y'all were coming through real low, so I was trying to hook up a speaker. Then once we hooked up the speaker, we could hear y'all, and then we couldn't. Y'all couldn't hear us, so we had to go to headphones. So just
Okay.
call me Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley.
Yeah. So so I'll have you. I'll ask you the question, Mo. What does it mean when the Bible says the bed is undefiled?
I've heard many theories on it. To me, it means that what you do in your bedroom. I don't think you should be doing anything to hurt each other or anything that's against the word of God. But at the same time, I feel like no man can judge what you do in your bedroom. What you and your wife decide is is pleasurable for you guys is good, I guess. You know what I mean? That's how I've always thought about it. What do you feel?
I mean, I agree with that, but I definitely, um, I don't like. I heard some of the conversation. I don't think you should add people into that bedroom. I
Oh
don't
no.
think you should do anything that is, crazy or. I mean, I guess everybody have a different idea of what's crazy,
Crazy, right?
but as long as you and your mate are on the same page as far as what that is enjoyable and pleasurable to each other, I think that that's fine. But I don't think it should do anything illegal or painful or where it affects other people. I guess that probably sums up the umbrella.
Okay. All right. Next question. Does any? Oh, Mom, you didn't respond. Did you have something you wanted to say, or you're good?
I'll hold mine to the next time. I need a little bit more time.
Okay.
Oh, take your time. Take your
She wants to redeem her
All
I
time.
want to redeem my time. That's what I'm trying to
right.
think
Okay.
of.
Reclaim your time.
Redeemed.
All right. So the next question: what have you experienced, or what have you heard
Redeemed.
from other married couples that can hinder a healthy sex life? Born Liz, will bounce back to you.
Say the question one more time.
What have you experienced, or what have you heard that can hinder a healthy sex life?
Definitely infidelity, um,
Money.
money, anything that throws off your balance. So I don't think it's one thing under one thing. It could
The
be
kids.
the
It
kids,
could be cleaning up the house.
right?
I
I
mean,
mean, like I know for me, a lot of times when Liz sees me do like gardening work and I'm showing my brawn and cutting grass and hedging, what I mean, laying down some fresh mulch. I know it's on that night. You know what I'm saying? I know what's going on. She done seen Big Daddy work. But I mean, but for each
well,
person, it's a different trigger point that helps or hinders. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
well,
literally. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, Mo,
Somebody say something.
many people say for the woman, sex starts in the kitchen.
Yeah. Or just in their head in
Helping her
general.
clean up the
You know what
kitchen.
I'm saying? Right. Exactly. When I cleaned up the kitchen, I do stuff like that. She loves it. Or just like for us, it could be a simple, hey, you look good today, baby. Oh man, girl, look at your hair. Look at that baby hair. Oh my goodness. Girl, you looking look at you. You got does that blush or you just shining like that? And that little stuff, it makes a difference for us. Now, for somebody else, it might be, girl, you ain't worth nothing and that turns her on. I don't know it. Everybody has their own different thing, but you have to know
yes.
what works for your marriage.
right.
Liz?
What's
Well,
the
for
question again?
myself, I feel like, um, give me the question one more time. What was the question again?
What do you think can hinder a healthy sex life in a marriage?
Right, yeah. Um, Again, like we said, there's numerous of things that could probably hinder that. And the thing is, I used to hear that all the time. I would laugh when people say it's communication, but it's so true. If you two are on the same page, you have an understanding of whatever it is, whatever the quirks are, the little kinks. As long as you understand what are deal breakers and what can help that marriage or break that marriage, and it could be the smallest thing. Somebody, it could be, you didn't wash your hands. I think I listened to Joe Osteen. He said his wife, it bothered her that he would wash his hands in the kitchen, and he didn't understand what the big deal was.
I don't like
And
that
he
either.
said, yeah, so he said, and it was something about just training himself to do. He said, I hate doing it,
Right.
but I love that. I know that my wife likes it.
Hmm.
And if that was one less argument, one less thing to get her under her skin and make our marriage better, fine. I'll go to the bathroom and wash my hands. Although I don't understand, the soap is sitting right there. I could just wash my hands. But I think it's just understanding what each other needs and what works for you. Um, then it won't be a hindrance in the bedroom later on. And I mean, we've all probably had these conversations. Well, I know Mario and Nia, we've had these conversations. The littlest things make each other happy. When he would say, man, if I had known just getting the boys' haircut, making sure they look neat, that was just going to be, a great thing for my wife. And I had benefits. And I've said that to Mo. I said, who cares what everybody else says? If that works for me and you, and that makes me and you happy, don't worry about what other people are saying. Let our marriage, let us get on the same page and let us work our marriage out, and we'll be excited and happy.
Yeah. I think you brought up a really good point, Liz. And I think that goes into, I've heard people talk about the five love languages. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. But sometimes, if you know how people like to be communicated or what feels like love to them, if you do that, like, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely an acts of service person. So just like you were talking about, clean up, things without me having to ask makes things a little bit more comfortable. And I think you're more relaxed in other areas. Things,
Yeah.
other things aren't on your mind, so that sex can be a hindrance. I think
Right.
that's a good point.
And
I,
and let me just say
go ahead.
this. I'm glad, Bishop, you were on one accord today. We are wearing black. You got the memo in the spirit today. Me and Mario also did not talk today, but we're both wearing black. So obviously you're in the spirit. And that's the best backdrop I've seen y'all have thus far, Bishop. Great
I'm
job.
glad
And,
you approved
and I
of it.
think
We've
me
been
and Bishop
you
have the
and
gold sign. Me and Bishop are in the spirit.
Oh,
We got the gold sign.
other time, Michael.
so I'm a little out today then. My bad.
Dad,
Yeah.
Mom.
Mhm.
So I think I go back to uh, what Mo was sharing earlier, and I think that this is in general. I mean, there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think for women, conversation is very important, and so I mean, what they hear tends to excite them first versus what they see or what they feel,
Hmm.
and so I think when uh, there's conversation that happens during the day. Mo talked about just saying complimenting and those type of things. That conversation helps that woman, I think, many times because she's turned on by what she hears first, and then what she feels, and then what she sees. Like I said, that's general. There might be exceptions to that rule. For men, it's more about what we see, what we feel, and what we hear. So I think for men, we're ready whenever. But for women, it's a process that happens all day long, up until the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we begin to understand that, it definitely will help.
Man.
All day.
So I mean, and I agree. I think the last part you said, men and women, a lot of times is different. So when I say men, make sure you do the housework, and like Mo said, when you maybe if you working outside in the wife beater, right? When you put down that mulch, do certain things that she like. But ladies on the other side, make sure you keep yourself together because men are visual. So don't take it as in, hey, listen, I got him now, or you married me like this, so now
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna let myself know you got to keep yourself. So I think each spouse has an obligation to make sure the other spouse is attracted to them as much as possible to have a healthy sex life. All right, this is my last question. All right, can pornography hurt your sex life? I'm gonna go to Bishop because I know he's blushing right now. So Bishop, just from maybe the people you talked to for what you heard, can pornography hurt a sex life in marriage?
Well, I'm gonna let my wife go first, so she can redeem her time, and then I'll share.
I think 100% it can hurt. Um, One, it could hurt if you have into pornography privately, without your spouse being there with you. That's a major problem because you're being satisfied with something you're not touching, and then when you give it to one you're supposed to touch, you already used up all your energy. So So yes, pornography is definitely a hindrance to a relationship. And then even, because with the pornography, if you're watching pornography and go to your spouse, they don't even know why you want them to flip 3 times because you don't see somebody else do it that's 100 pounds smaller, or they out there with other people. So yeah,
Quadruple
it's
jointed.
definitely a hindrance huh? It's
I
definitely a
said
hindrance in a
quadruple
marriage. And
jointed.
then even
Tell,
and
tell them
definitely
your
even
knees
if
don't
as a
work like that.
couple,
Yeah.
even as a couple, it will give you unrealistic expectations in the relationship, because watching that, even if y'all watch it together, I don't condone watching it, but if you watch it together, it's still coming out of there like you almost been satisfied by somebody else already. You've been satisfied already. So, but then you go with your spouse and try to recreate the picture again. I don't know. I think it's open doors to unnecessary spirits in your relationship.
Definitely.
I definitely think it's a problem. What it causes to do is objectify. So people becomes objects. Because what happened, and you'll find many times, serial killers and different ones
Mm-hmm.
like that, were addicted to pornography. A lot of and what it does is it causes you to look at the person as an object. You don't see the humanity of the person. You just see that person from an object point of view. I think also what happens is it gives you unrealistic expectations within the marriage. And so you're expecting what you see on film in your marriage, and many times that's an unrealistic expectation, and I think it causes your imagination. It brings other people into the imagination that really your spouse should feel.
And those are not real people. They're reading the script and they're acting it out. So that is not a real sexual relationship. A love relationship. It could be sex, and that's it. It's not a love. So we can't base our marriage that we have in Christ in love on a movie that they're getting paid to do.
So I have a question because that's a really good point. You both said that it's an unrealistic expectation. What if that's something that the person that is viewing it would like to introduce to make it a realistic expectation? How do you kind of like work that out or find
What
boundaries?
do you mean? What do you mean a person? One person or the couple?
It could just be one part of the couple. If that is already something that they were struggling with and they would like to make it an expectation or something real in their marriage, do you think that's wrong? That's just what they wanted to do.
I
How do
I
you
think if one I think if one person was involved in pornography and the
Mhm.
other person was not, they need to be healed and delivered before they get with the other person, because that's a spirit that you're taking, a defiled spirit you're taking to a marriage. And so that the wife or the husband, whoever was not in the pornography, can never live up to that movie. They can never live up to that script that was written that somebody act out on camera. Take 10, do it again. Take 10, do it again.
I want to make sure we're clear on the fact that even if it's two people, even if even if the husband and wife both want to watch pornography, I think that's problematic. Um, and I think I go back to what Job said. He said, "I made a covenant with my eyes." Okay, so I think what the Bible talks about casting down imagination. Um, we've got to be careful how we what we allow ourselves to view, because you tend to become what you see. And if here again, this is this is about satisfying flesh. It's about lust. It's not about love. And so then the relationship becomes that of lust and not a relationship of love. I think that's problematic in a marriage.
And I agree with that. I think a lot of times when people think about pornography, they just think about like XXX videos. But I think a lot of times when you're on Instagram and everybody their mother is a fitness model, but they all twerking. You know what I'm saying? On that kind of stuff, I consider that a form of pornography too, because it will give you a form. For a man, you're seeing that,
Unrealistic
and this girl
expectations.
over here, she done got her body all cut up or whatever, doing all kind of stuff, and
Got
you go to
apps to
your
shave
wife,
their body up.
you shave their body up, and you go to your wife like, okay, I need you to drop it low. And she's like, well, I had 2 knee replacements. I can't, I can't, I can't really do that. So what's
I can't
happening
drop
is
it.
so what's happening is you have put unrealistic expectations on that person. And also when you watch stuff like that, it's not about, because you don't know that person, right? So it's not the beauty of that person that makes the sex more enjoyable. It's just a body. It's just the piece of the anatomy that you can use to have sex. That's why you can have sex with this person. Won't It's not important, because then you can have sex with the next person, because they like you said about some serial killers. People stop becoming really human to you. So you miss out on what makes your wife or your husband important or special, because you're just looping them in with everything else you saw.
So then, how do you, if somebody's struggling in that area? I know that Pastor Joey said, well, you have to be healed. But when they're struggling, how do you get out of it? For some people, that's been a stronghold. Like, what do you do to get out of it?
And some people, this is the first time they're hearing that, they think it's wrong.
Well, I think it's a struggle for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, statistics tell us that Christian men,
Yeah.
about 70% of them are hooked on pornography. So it's a struggle
In the church.
for about 7 out of 10 men in church,
And,
Hey,
and, and
and
on top
they
about
of
40
that,
to
said they
50
said
percent of women.
they said in
Yeah,
the
and
hotels when they have
yeah, that's what I said.
convocations and conferences, their pornography jumps out the roof in the hotel rooms.
So
The pay per view.
I guess that brings me back to my point. We can talk about it. We can say it's wrong. So there's probably people that's preaching it. Oh, it's wrong. They go right back to their hotel room after they preach and order this. Where do we go to? Where do we tell the believer now? This is something you're dealing
And
with.
what
This is how you can be set free.
Okay.
What are the steps you take?
I, I I think one of the things you got to do, Nia, is you got to expose it. I think as long as it's hidden and it's just your secret, I think the enemy has power over you.
Okay.
I think it needs to be exposed to somebody that you feel you have confidence in, that will cover you and not exploit that. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's something that you can talk to your mate about. Um,
right?
but even over and above that, to have maybe another male, if it's a man, have another man that is spiritual, that you respect, that could be, it's almost like AA, right? Hey man, you call that person, I'm struggling. Listen, I need you to pray for me. It's that type of thing, of opening up with someone, so that the enemy, I think the thing that keeps the whole is the secretism, it being secret. Once you put light on the enemy, he no longer has that power, or at least that you begin to take your power back.
And I agree, because the secret, what really comes down to, well, not really come down, but shame is a big part of it. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll just say, hey, listen, I'm just going to pray. I'm just going to fast. But when you read the Bible, he said, if you're sick, call for the elders. He said one could put 1,000, two could put 10,000. So whenever it comes to healing, the Bible always says you need another person. So I think that a lot of times said, and that's why I think it's very important that what you said, that you need to go to someone that you can trust. So now when you go there and they speak life into you, that's why God made us that way, to be together so we can help heal each other. So I'm not telling you don't pray. I'm not telling you don't fast. Of course do that. But I think the best thing to do is find somebody who you can talk to, and like you said, even be able to held accountable to for those issues.
So
We still didn't get to answer the question.
Go
Um,
ahead.
did you want to answer that?
For myself, I was totally against pornography in the bedroom, even as a couple. And I had many of my Christian friends. They just get married and they say, "Oh, we ordered our first tape," and I remember thinking, like, why? I think I said it to the young. I said, "Why would you need that?" I feel like your imagination and what you two can do together is way better than any tape. So I never was. It was never something I considered. I felt like the chemistry that you would have with your mate, because you love each other, you want to express that. I didn't feel like I needed to watch something and then it would show me what to do. But I have heard a lot of girls tell me this, that because their whole lives they've been taught that sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. When it was time to have sex in their Christian marriage, they didn't know what to do. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to turn off Jesus and put on something else. Um, they didn't really know what to do when it came to sex, because sex in their minds was taught and drilled that it's a bad and it's a nasty thing. So that switch, now that you're a married woman, how do you make that a beautiful and good thing? Was tough for them. So they said they went out and outsourced and bought toys and watched videos and all that kind of stuff. So I see how now it is a problem for a lot of people. And I've had a lot of people have this conversation. Being in the slime, you hear these kind of conversations. But for me, I always felt like keep it as pure as possible between you and your mate. And some people, they, like you said, they didn't feel comfortable with expressing how they felt. And I go back again, which is so crazy. I would hear it all the time. If you can't talk to your mate about how you feel, and like even Bishop said, even exposing some of those areas in your life or concerns, you will have problems in your bedroom, and you will find yourself secretly wanting and doing things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think um, pornography has any place in the bedroom. I know, like we both, talk to a lot of people, and it a lot of times it's pretty much normal to a lot of people, which it surprised me because it totally surprised me. I'm like, that's normal. I thought that was kind of weird, but it's a lot of people that you know tend to watch. They think they watch it together and it helps. I don't know. I'm not there to judge, but I do feel like when you do that, yeah, you just open yourself up for stuff that's not going to be. And I agree with Mario too. You have to be careful even on social media, who you're following, what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Like we always laugh. Some of the guys, you know, I'm around for basketball and stuff will say, let me see your search box for Instagram, and they'll show you what you look at. It'll show you what you're searching. It'll show you, you know what I'm saying? And and we do it in fun, but we're saying, hey, what you search for is what you're searching for. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're a lot of times gonna fall short in if you're searching and looking for the wrong thing. And that's why a lot of times the women that you see here, they're not enough for you because you're looking for this video vixen and she don't exist. Even the video vixen that you see, she doesn't really exist. She's
No.
she's used the app to curve her hip in and shave down her leg and got all these filters. You know what I'm saying? So like you just have to be careful of what you allow your eyes to be exposed to in general.
And this is
You
my
know, one
last
of the
comment
things
about it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dad. I didn't know you were talking.
I was just going to say this, Mario, is that there's a spiritual component to this also. It's not just physical. there is spiritual too. Paul talks in Corinthians in that 6th chapter that he that joins himself to a harlot becomes one with that harlot. So there's a spiritual component to this that is affects you long after you watched it. That spirit is still following you. That spirit is still there, and I think that's something that people need to recognize.
And I think with the
It,
pornography,
So then how do they
he's
get
right.
rid of it?
Also, I said with the pornography, you also open the door to masturbation and all that. I remember I heard a lady, she got God healed her, but she used to watch pornography, and then she would have she had a laundry basket, and she would turn it over and actually while she was watching pornography, masturbate with a laundry basket. And so she said it took her so long to get delivered from that. Even once she got married, her husband could never satisfy her because she was used to. Are y'all laughing at me? No, that's a true story.
no, it just
I don't
caught
know
us
what the
off guard.
laundry basket
She
does.
sat
Yeah,
on the
the
laundry
laundry
basket.
basket
She
threw me
sat
off
on
too.
it while she was watching pornography. And so,
I mean,
so what
a laundry
happened really.
basket is kind
Does
of
the
wide.
laundry
Of course,
basket
her husband not
vibrate
gonna
or
be able to do
something?
nothing for her after that.
Right. And so when she got married, that was a major issue in her marriage because she had been in pornography. So she turned the laundry basket over, sat on it, and that's how she satisfied herself. Because remember, the video can't do nothing for you. So she sat on the laundry basket, unfortunately, and that's how she satisfied herself. But once she got married, she had to get delivered from that because that's what her body was used to.
Mhm.
All right.
And
Don't
the
nobody go out
last
and buy a
part that
laundry
I wanted to
basket,
add,
please.
Right. I'm taking all the
the
laundry
last
baskets out my house tonight.
the last part I wanted to add to it, to me, it's almost like what happened to Adam and Eve. Like once they sinned, their eyes were open, right? They didn't know they were naked until
Go over there.
they sinned, and they
Take the
knew.
earpiece
And
out.
I think sometimes I think a lot more people could be fulfilled sexually as long as they don't see the other stuff. Like they don't know they're missing out until you show them what they aren't doing. You understand what I'm saying? Like they will be perfectly fine with what they're doing because they say, "Hey, I enjoy what I'm doing." But now, when you watch porn or you watch something else and you see all these people doing all these other acts,
You shouldn't have brought
now
it
you're
with
like,
you.
"Oh, I'm naked," or "Oh, I'm missing out on something. Let me try this. Let me try that." So I think when you watch videos like that, what it'll do is it'll take you other places because some of it won't even fulfill you. It'll make you just curious. It'll make you try to wonder and try to figure out, it will this make me happy? Then you add it to your repertoire, and then it's all downhill from there.
Well, the Bible says the eye is not satisfied with seeing. You're always going to want more. You're always going to, it's like when you get high, right? You're always looking for that first get high, the way it made you feel, and you can never reach it. You never reach it. And the ultimate get high is an overdose, and you die. You know what I'm saying? You're never able to reach that plateau, and that's what the enemy does. He puts something out there, and then he's constantly moving that yardstick of what it's going to take to satisfy. Well, I
Right.
tried this. Well, let me try a boy now. You see what I'm saying? It constantly, and now, sexuality has become such a, uh, you know, uh, what can I
Fluid.
say? I think our sexuality has been labeled so many. You got pansexuality. You got there's all kind of sexuality now that the world has introduced that is contrary to what God's word says. And I think the challenge becomes is that when many people come into the church, they come in and they've had those issues and those issues come with them to the church. And those are things we got to be willing to talk about and deal with.
All right. Well,
Mhm.
those. Go ahead.
One more question. Do you think it's appropriate to have it in an open forum at church or no? That's a private matter.
No, I
Say,
think I think I think an open forum would be good as long as it's consenting adults. I wouldn't want children there. But here's the thing though. I think we got to realize within our children's church, well, not maybe not children's church, but within our young adults, getting to those teenage years, there's got to be conversations about sex. We have to have those we have to have those conversations in a godly way. I think we got to talk about these things because it's real life and it's where people live at, and every day people are dealing with it. You know, you cannot turn on TV without seeing, you know, two men, two women. I mean, it's just it is overwhelming. And so those are issues of our day that we've got to deal with. That maybe 10, 15 years ago, we really didn't have to deal with. It was just straight up missionary, you know, and now is, you know, Jeff and John and who else?
But even what
Yeah,
you said,
you're
our
right,
young kids,
Bishop.
they're teaching school now. Billy and Sally has two moms, so they're trying to teach us, desensitize our children right now at a young age. It was no, Billy has two moms and Jim has two dads, but that's teaching our children to accept, you know, the lifestyle. So we need to really just, no matter what age our children are, begin to teach them.
We got to talk about it. We have to. And I think one of the things we need to talk about too, we've talked about married couples, but so many people and many Christians believe that if you love the person, you can have sex even and not be married. And and those are things that we need to talk about.
And I think sometimes people don't see the benefit of waiting for marriage. When I hear a lot of younger people talk, or anybody, really, not even young people, anybody talk, they don't feel like they see the benefit anymore. It's not being taught and they don't see it.
And what they and the only thing that they are exposed to is telling them that they can go ahead and have sex and they can, you know, explore your sexuality, even though you don't even understand what your sexuality is yet. You see what I'm saying? And people are exploring those things, and it's a problem when that child learns at an age inappropriately, it will affect that child for the many times for the rest of their life. How many people right now are dealing with sexual issues because they were exposed or somebody touched them at a young age, and now they're still dealing with that trauma? One of the Leon Hopper said, I'm sorry, Lenona says, teach them so that they don't go out looking for it. And I agree. I think we have to. If we don't teach our children, the world is going to teach them.
Already trying.
They talk about it. We
Already
can act
teaching them.
naive and act like they don't, but they definitely do. Those are conversations that I had really young. You know, I was just thinking about that. Like, I was fortunate enough that my mom talked to us about it. Actually, pretty younger than I have. I haven't really breached the conversation with my children well enough yet, but we were younger when she did. And I even remember being young in a youth group. Pastor Joyce would tell us. You know, I think that's what's needed for Christian guidance to be given to kids, because we can act like, oh, they're young, and I do understand being precautious because of age, but they're having the conversation.
If not having
And
sex
hearing
also.
it.
Yeah, so she's right. I agree. I 100% agree. I have somebody who had a question. It says, what do you do if your husband, I guess, doesn't touch you or does not have the sex drive at all?
Wow. I think, in my opinion, I would ask him, you know, to maybe begin to look at getting some professional help if there's something physically wrong there, you know. I think there's got to be some real conversation about if he had sex drive at one point and he's lost it, what caused it? I mean,
Right.
is it that the wife is no longer attractive to him? I mean, what's going on in this relationship? But that's something that really you can't just bury your head in the sand and think that it's going to get better or it's going to go away. It really needs to be talked about. And maybe if the two of you can't have that conversation, maybe that's when you get your pastor or some other spiritual person that you respect involved, so that there's a third party there that can kind of help walk you through that.
And even it could be medicine.
Right. Well,
And
that's
your
what I
spouse
said.
could be on some type of medicine that suppresses their sex drive. So they may be too ashamed to talk about, so they won't have no, that's why they won't touch you, won't come near you, don't make you think you're gonna have sex, and he can't perform or she can't perform. So it could be medicine. So look into what kind of medicine you're on. It could be something as well.
Stress. It can be stress,
Yeah.
especially right now.
And also but like we talked about pornography. I forgot the doctor name. I don't think it was Doctor. I can't remember the name. But they were talking about. They said like when you watch that, say if you watch pornography, when you watch that, it'll literally take your sex drive away. I'm not saying this is what happened to them, but it'll take your sex drive away from your partner because for whatever reason why. So it could be a number of things. I think the best thing is, say he might not feel comfortable at the beginning talking with you and somebody else. Help him find somebody that he feels comfortable with talking with, just him and that other male, and getting it out on the table. So then some kind of healing and some kind of help can happen, no matter what the issue is, whether it's medical or whether it's mental or spiritual.
So I have a question about that then. Well,
Communication.
how do you reach that how do you have that conversation? And what if the person is not really open to it because they're embarrassed? How would you suggest that as pastors?
I see Mo and Liz are back. I'll let them address it. But what's interesting, Nia, is that people get on shows like Jerry
Mm-hmm.
Springer and different, or Dr. Phil, and they talk. I mean, they tell the world things that they weren't willing to even talk about privately in their own home, which I find amazing, right? But communication is so important in marriage. It is vital that you have that you talk.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You have to ask a
On Liz.
question to.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear the question?
No, what was the question?
The question is, what do you do? They said husband, but I will open it up to
Oh, okay.
spouse.
If
What
if he
happens if
can't
your
perform,
spouse?
got you.
No, no, or
Right,
no, no. Wait, it was two parts. He said, "What if
right.
Well, it
Oh,
wasn't so much perform. He doesn't touch
they
her.
don't?"
He doesn't. He's not touching her or
And doesn't
Right,
want to
but
have
bottom line, he
sex.
ain't performing. Bottom line, he ain't performing though. So, what do you do? I would say, first of all, I would, as a wife, I think Liz would pray. You know, you pray for your spouse, hold him up in prayer, ask the Lord to give you wisdom as a spouse on how to handle that. A lot of times, I think counseling could help. But before you go to counseling, I think it should be a thing where, you know, you got to have a heart to heart and come to Jesus moment and say what's going on, and maybe you two can figure that out together. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, you know, if the husband doesn't like this, or maybe you got too skinny, or maybe you got too big, because it's not always that you got too big. I've heard men say, my wife got too skinny, man. She just don't even turn me on no more. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know, whatever the thing may be, try to talk that out. If that doesn't work, go to the pastor. If that doesn't work, try counseling. But above all, whichever spouse is struggling, the other spouse needs to pray for that spouse for sure.
I mean, you guys pretty much cover every base that I could think of. I can't think of anything else, any other advice I would give besides those areas. So definitely use those.
Somebody wrote in, said communication brought us together. This is Sean, to a place to even get married. We were on two separate paths, and marriage counseling rounded it off. So here again, I think what happens so often in marriage is you're best friends when you're dating, and after you get married and after children, somehow you lose that. And I think you can't afford to
Yeah.
lose that. that friendship needs to stay throughout the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the misnomers, especially for women, is that they think that that man doesn't want them to be their friend. It's not true. Men thrive on friendship. And so just you going to the game with him, doing something that he likes doing, it for them really is important it, to them. Maybe you don't like football, but to sit there and watch the game and learn it is a turn on for him. I mean, that's something because you become a lot of times when men get married, they not hanging out like they used to with the single fellas, but they miss that camaraderie. They miss that fellowship. That wife needs to be able to. I'm not saying fill all of that, but there needs to be a friendship there.
I agree.
I agree.
Definitely.
All right. Are there any more questions on Facebook before we wrap it up? Does anybody have any other questions that they might see on there? No. All right. Well, guys, I
I think
thank
the
you
light's still hit.
for coming. I thank you for everybody who's on Facebook who watched, who had questions. Please share. Um, if you have any questions, you can still, or if you have any other topics that you would like to speak about, please do not hesitate to inbox anyone. Well, I'm not really on Facebook that much, so don't inbox me. But inbox anybody else and just let them know what kind of topic or anything you may have. Bishop, can you close us out? You and
Hold on before
Yeah,
you before you close. Hold on. And do me a favor for guys that are on Facebook. If you can inbox, like you said, one of us, any problems that we're having technically, can you just inbox us? Because a lot of times when we're on this end, we're using another app that we don't know what's going on. So maybe if you can inbox us and let us know, hey, I can't hear here, or it's going out here, or it's frozen. Maybe it'd be something that we can fix because this is something we have to work on because for the foreseeable future, we'll be, dealing with each other on this level, not in church. So we want to make sure it's as good as possible. So please inbox us if there's any problems or if you're having problems hearing. I saw some people saying that they were going to YouTube because they couldn't hear here. So even on YouTube, if you're having problems there, please inbox us so we can try to work out some of the kinks as you see today.
Before we close, I just want to say to all of our church, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. Again, we want to reach out to all of our young people and children in our children ministry. So please call the church, area code 716-884-3607, and leave your information. We make sure we don't miss on any of our children. And also, if you'd like to be a part of giving, this would be an awesome time. Bishop, you want to share that part?
sure. The Bible says that there's safety in a multitude of counsel, and don't just struggle in your marriage. And if you're at an impasse where neither one of you seem to be being able to communicate with each other, get counsel. It's important. It will bring a perspective, especially if it's objective uh, counseling, where the counselor is not taking sides; they're hearing both sides of it. Because after a while, when issues happen, sometimes you're dealing with you're talking about one thing, but the issue happened 2 years ago that you never got over, and so from that point on, you're not communicating. And you really need somebody that's outside of the marriage to be able to look in and say, and to be able to help you work through that. So don't let pride, don't let shame stop you from getting the help that you need. If you are in the Buffalo area, call us 716-884-3607. We have those that have gone through counseling training that will minister to you, that will walk you through this, that are spiritual people that will pray with you. But don't suffer in silence. Don't Your marriage is too important. It's too important to your children. It's too important to your future. And with that being said, my battery's just about dead. And so I'm going to end with this. Listen, it's time to give. The information to give is will come up on the screen. It's time to sow into the things of God. And I want to thank all of our e-church, our Bethesda members, as you continue to be faithful in your giving. We know that God will never allow us to be in lack, that he will meet our needs because we've taken care of the house of God. God says, I'll supply all of your need according to his riches and glory. With that, I'm going to sign off, because if not, I'm just going to cut off because my battery is dead. Thank you for viewing. Share with somebody. We'll see you on Sunday
10
at 10
a.m.
a.m.
We love you. God bless you.
Peace.
See you
All
soon.
right. God bless.
Peace.
Lord, make me a house, make me a house of prayer. Lord, make me a house, make me a house of prayer, a house of prayer.
Lord, make me a house, make me a house of prayer. Make me a house of prayer, a house of prayer, Lord.
May the fire on my altar never burn out. The fire on my altar never burn out. May the fire on my